Climate change is in the whole solar system. Climate comes from the sun, and it has regular cycles of 12,500 years. And now we are at the end of one of those cycles. Big events will happen in the near future. Not now. We still have time. Very important, so that we can actually overcome all evil in planet Earth. Even though it's a secret for many, many years, we feel the intensity and the quality of light has changed. We could say that the confusion about climate change has done in purpose, and always climate has to do with the sun.
So there's more intensity of light. The sun is doing the climate change. The climate change is not only in the planet Earth, it's in the whole solar system because it comes from the sun. And things will happen in the future, but we just have now a lot of more cosmic rays coming in because the solar minimums are getting larger and more expanded in time. Maybe it's even the solar maximum will be on 2025 when a lot of things would have gone through. And people will know that there's holes in the magnetosphere and sunstorms can come right into us and cut electricity. So that's by 2025 when we have that crisis coming, and we have to have all of these solutions in medicine. So sun gives more light, we have more cosmic rays, we can even get ultraviolet because there's no protection. It's not about the ozone hole, it's a magnetic hole. They call it Atlantic anomaly and the Pacific anomaly and the African anomaly that can go into Europe. So those anomalies, these holes, will actually these places that have total ultraviolet. And they know it in South America. So that is creating a biological evolution. The biological evolution is simple, that we are getting more immune system. So we are getting stronger immune system because we have stronger light, and Wi-Fi's, all Wi-Fi's 3G, 4G, and even more 5G, bring down the immune system because we are bombarded with radio frequencies, and we don't feel nothing. I had leukemia from nuclear radiation, from gas radon. You don't feel nothing. It comes later, cancer in 20 years later. It appears as cancer. So, you don't know that you're already in the process of cancer. I'm really wondering what is happening with the people of consciousness that know about the critical mass, morphogenetic fields, what is called an egregor, which is like the thought form, because some of them are playing the game. They believe, they fear, they believe the virus has been real, but it's not there anymore, and they continue with confinement, and this whole thing with mask. So many people of consciousness are going with it that it really worries me.
Well, I think it's the people with unconsciousness that's going along with it.
Really?
The people with consciousness realize the lie behind it, and then they're the ones who are trying to teach the other people or trying to wake up the other people. But, you can't wake up somebody who's unconscious like that. It's like trying to help a chick break out of the egg. It doesn't work.
Well, it was called egregor in the ancient times, and is known from metaphysics because it's a thought form that actually becomes manifested in such a way that it actually influences other people without even any physical contact, like the 11th, 100th month key theory or experiment, that was that the monkeys started
washing the
Potatoes.
potatoes in the water, and the other monkeys in other islands that had no physical contact started doing it. So
Yeah.
if we go with them, if we continue the game that they've started, then what are they doing? I want to question them. What are they doing? Because a lot of people that know about this, how you would express it in scientific morphogenetic field, that
Yeah,
Sheldrake
Sheldrake,
started,
yeah.
you know, he's explained the egregor in a scientific way. So they know about it.
Yeah.
How do you explain
Well,
it?
it's another thing is Diane Fortune in Psychic Self-Defense, she talks about manifesting thought forms. That, I mean, religions have actually manifested thought forms that they thought were gods, and they were basically just thought forms that they collectively have created. So that's another thing that can happen, is that you can actually manifest a thought form that would create a disease like that.
Yeah.
It's not a physical disease, but it's something that can create the symptoms of that disease, which are not physical. So that's another possibility.
Yeah, that we know that the virus was real, but it just now continues with a normal,
Right.
a normal influenza, a normal
It's actually
coronavirus.
Yeah,
That's how
it's
they call
less
it.
infectious. Yeah.
You know, and then the whole thing is that so many people, you know, I understand that many of them are therapists and they are in total contact with people, and they have to be cautious, you know.
Yeah.
We're not talking about not having precaution.
Reading in every medical school. I mean, it's a cautionary tale.
Yeah. So what is a morphogenetic field? How can it actually transcend? Because another thing we know is that the magnetosphere actually, which is changing now, and is going to start disheveled in the magnetic pole shift, it's actually connected to our emotions through the hypothalamus. So we actually have been affected. There been signs of the magnetosphere in the magnetoscopes that are measuring the climate in 9/11 and things like that, so that there is such thing as human consciousness reflected in the magnetosphere, and that's scientific.
Yeah.
This
yeah.
proves. And then we have morphogenetic fields. And now, well, I'm just questioning the morphogenetic field is a collective psychosis. How many people are out of that psychosis? How many people are able to create something new, knowing that everything is rotten? It's rotten and dead. The system, the politicians, the medical field, most of the careers that they are learning, and they have to.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not just doctors. I mean, it's scientists. I mean, the energy field is corrupt, and the corporate field definitely corrupt, and then pretty much everything.
All
Religions
universities
are
have been
corrupted.
manipulated to hide what's coming,
Every
and
field.
hide the climate change real reason behind, which comes from the sun. But what can we know more about the morphogenetic field? Because Sheldrake explained to us that it's also what dogs and pets know, that you're coming from far, that you know that you are coming when
It's
they
a
haven't
psychic
seen
link.
you, because
Yeah.
it's like an antenna that actually becomes a global network of minds,
Yeah.
which are now in confusion,
Yeah.
total confusion.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm asking you about the morphogenetic field,
Right, yeah.
well, how can you prove it? That's when you say.
Right,
How
yeah,
can
yeah.
you prove
So there was a story from Rupert Sheldrake, and he said that in a laboratory they're trying to crystallize, I think it was an amino acid, and they were trying to do this all over the world. And then there's one laboratory that noticed that it started crystallizing. So, being good scientists, they started talking to each other, calling each other up on the phone. And then they said, oh my gosh, mine's doing it too. And then the other was, it's happening with mine too. And all the laboratories that couldn't get it to crystallize when the first one started, the other ones all over the world started crystallizing.
Amazing. And this is recent that has happened, truly.
Yeah. So it shows that this morphic resonance, it's like an information field.
Suddenly, but then it has to be something new, is to do something, to act some way that we've never acted.
Right, yeah.
Actually, something totally shocking. Yeah, it would be the ETs appearing. Something totally shocking that suddenly the whole humanity...
do it, yeah.
Boom, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
We have the reason. No, we're not going to go with you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And then the ETs then show up and say, we'd like to show you our system because we don't have a government. So, okay, let's hear it. We're ready.
And we don't have money.
Yeah, and they don't have money. Yeah.
Okay. So that is scientific, Elizabeth?
Yeah. Well, essentially what we're talking about is for the patterns that are out there, we're talking about an information field that's in the planet. And as far as what that consists of, it could be, some people think that it's a scalar field. And by scalar means longitudinal EM. That's like a standing wave field that's on the planet. We know that our brain waves are hooked into the Schumann Resonance.
Yeah, all the Schumann Resonance, they are exactly a few, there's not one is the one that's 7.8 that they know, and it gives some jumps sometimes, no? Depends on the size of the Earth, so it doesn't change that much, but it gives spikes.
Right.
Because it's like bombardment or wrinkles that happen in the ionosphere, so... But and they're connected exactly. There's like 4 or 5 different frequencies, the same as beta, alpha, theta, and delta.
Yeah.
And beta, it's like the same as the brain waves, and that's how
beat
the hypothalamus
frequencies.
is connected, is bringing the radio frequency, which is the size of the neurons, is the size of the wave. So the size of the neurons are the size of radio frequencies, so that's why our brain is transmitting in radio frequencies, and our eyes is translating in terahertz, which is nanometers, so really nano. So that's that's the eyes are the fastest we have, the most evolved organ. But the hypothalamus is the adapter that brings all those very high frequencies of our brain down to the Schumann resonance, and we call it brainwaves. So we are connected to the magnetosphere, and we are connected through the Earth's magnetosphere, and we are connected to each other, and those filaments create knots and entanglements of emotions between us. And at this moment, we're about to go into a pole shift that all of those filaments are getting disheveled and creating different knots. That's why the birds are losing their way, and the whales and dolphins are also losing their way, their migratory ways. But so if this is happening now, this absolute chaos of psychosis, of fear, we have to do a jump. We have to do a jump, and we have to be initiating the jump. Now, we cannot call, from harmonic convergence, 1987, that it happened. Millions of people participated. It was welcoming the ETs. That's what we were doing. I was one of the main organizers with Jose Arguelles, and we were welcoming the end of the world as we know it, and we were welcoming the ETs. We've continuously tried doing events, synchronized events, and now lately the Pope was doing that. And some people were going with that too, not knowing the Pope is on the other side of the dark side. But so we're doing the synchronistic events. There's no such thing as creating another one now. It has to be as the first one. Even as the harmonic convergence in 1987, the 17th of August 1987, that it was the media saying we were mad, that they help it. But how did millions participated? It was spontaneous. So now there's nobody that comes and says, now let's do this. It has to happen by itself. Itself.
Yeah.
Like suddenly we all are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So people have to be conscious that we're on the verge of this jump, and that we have to be against all of these games of power, of control, of confinement, of masks, of let's jump, and it has to be spontaneous. Nobody says, let's do it that day. It has to happen on its own. It has to happen by itself.
Yeah.
And it's very close.
Yeah.
People are saying about the 21st of December 2020, but why 21st of December? You know what?
Why any
What is
specific
this? It's
date?
like, and why does it have to be one day? It could be a whole entire week of 2 weeks where people say, enough. Enough. You're not going to take us for a ride anymore. You're not going to take us for slavery anymore. You're not going to take us for money.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, something Rupert Sheldrake said, is that the amount of people that you can offset on the outside is that it's the square of the number of the people that are acting with pure intention together.
Pure intention,
Right.
very important.
So you have pure intention together. So I've seen this in the Tesla Society. If you had 100 people in this auditorium with the same mindset, that's like 100 squares, 10,000 people in Colorado Springs. We offset a lot of the people in Colorado Springs because what we were doing is creating that field around it. Now, another thing that they're really worried about, and a church can do the same thing. If you had 100 people in a church, that's like 10,000 people outside.
Yeah, well, the church has domes and have more power.
Right. The other question is, how many people do you have to actually, let's call it, entrain the rest of the planet? Well, if you have 100,000 people over the whole planet, I mean, just acting together, that's 100,000 squared, which is equivalent to 10 to the 10th. That's 10 billion, which offsets the entire population of the planet. So if you have 100,000 people, and I think we're close to it right now.
Yes, we should be, of course.
We should be close. Once you hit that number, then that's the 100 monkey effect. That's what they're really afraid of, is once you've got that many people
and
that
you
are
don't
acting
have
with
to
intention.
be in any physical contact.
Right.
Or in any internet contact, it has to be spontaneously.
Right.
There's like a burst of a bubble that suddenly all say, that's it. And it's like
it's
maybe
enough.
disobedient and not paying taxes or not doing something, or just sitting in the streets and saying, you're not going to move me.
Yeah.
That's the Hopi prophecy.
Yeah.
The Hopi prophecy is that we would do that.
Mm-hmm.
We will seriously, you won't move me.
Yeah, it's kind of like with Gandhi, it's non-compliance, and basically you're just not complying with what the authority structures want you to do. And Gandhi's people went through they went through hell, but the British left India, and they didn't fire a shot at anybody. They basically just didn't comply.
Yeah. Because there's not going to be a lot of people in the street anyway, because they're actually targeting to kill people money. Not only they take our money with the taxes, they take our money with any little thing you have to pay taxes and banks and everything. Not only they take it, there's going to be a big flash of awakening that has to happen. And I don't know, December is critical because of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Then we have Mars conjunct Uranus on the 20th of January. Who knows what revolution is going to happen in the United States the day of the inauguration, the exact conjunction of Mars-Uranus. And, there are many explosive situations which do not have to be violent. They're just going to be awakening. And all together, that actually we don't even know how it
It's civil
happened.
disobedience. That's what Thoreau said. And the other thing is that,
Communicating and expressing myself.
right, yeah.
You have to express yourself with a lot of intention, a lot of
Yeah.
emphasis. That is healing to your body because you have a lot of all the notes. And
Yeah.
that's what I can say. But in this case, suddenly the people are taken to such a desperation of impotency,
So they're forced to work together
that is
with
suddenly
an intention.
explodes into a different type of enthusiastic intention that will be what ignites.
Right, but what you're describing is what happens inside of a laser too. For example, with a gas laser, what happens is that you have the pump wave going in constantly.
A laser with light is gas.
Right, for a gas laser. And what happens is that they call it population inversion. So what happens is that you keep putting energy in, and then the energy goes, because it's all non-coherent to begin with. So then the first one bunch of atoms rises up to that energy level, and then you have all these other atoms below it. Then
They're
the
only
second,
incoherent.
right, so then the second wave of atoms goes up to that level. And then after that, then the rest of the atoms suddenly up to that level. And then it all drops back down with a single pulse of laser light. Coherent, one frequency.
So that can happen, and it's about light.
Yeah,
It's
but
about light. It is a flash of light.
Right,
Illumination.
But that happens with people, because what happens is that there's a few people that are leaders, that are conscious, they rise up to that point. And then the other people that start to awaken, then they rise up. And then suddenly, then you've got the 100th monkey effect. The rest of the ones, up to that level. And then, because they're all at that level, then they put out all that energy at once. And that becomes a laser pulse. So I can see that happening and I can see that happening with, for example, when people get together for a project, and everybody has the same intention. Now they have to have the same intention, because if you have just one person in the group that is critical of the whole thing, won't work. But if everybody has the same intention and the same vision, then it's incredible what you can do.
Exactly.
I understand that it's the same as when we do the marches of the soldiers, that they have to break the marching exactly together, because if not, they could actually break a bridge. So it's the same thing. We get coherent, we march together, and we get our goal of erasing all evil in planet Earth.
Creative.
Yeah.
It's all about light, illumination.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm happy you explain it to us with laser, because that's
Yeah.
what really light is.
Yeah, yeah.
So great.
Yeah.
This could happen next year with the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction at the end of the year, but I don't know if we're ready. But then Mars-Uranus squaring Saturn as well with that conjunction. But of course, this is happening because more and more light is going to come in. So it's going to happen a little further, I think. I would have to check when. But it's possible that before 2025 for sure.